Right, so in this series where we're covering these Christmas promises, going through the whole Bible, today we're going to look at the Christmas promise given to Mary and Joseph. Now, of course, we've looked at John the Baptist, who's preparing everyone for the Lord. Now we're going to look at this promise of the Lord about to show up, and the beginning, or one of the big parts of this nativity story. So I'm going to read from Luke chapter 1, verses 26 onwards. So, the birth of Jesus foretold. In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favoured. The Lord is with you." Mary was greatly troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favour with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you are to call him Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever. His kingdom will never end." And then maybe if I just read verse 38, she talks, but then Mary just says, "I am the Lord's servant," Mary answered. "May your word to me be fulfilled." Then the angel left her. Now, as we're just looking at Mary and Joseph, and of course, all they do as a part of this nativity story is incredible. And it's such a big pressure to have this God child. In the Bible, the Lord is very careful how parents are meant to raise their children, to look after them. But the strange thing about Mary and Joseph is they had to follow all these laws that God gave in order to raise God. There is this strange moment in the Bible where God, throughout the Bible, is used to and loves to look after his church. He loves to look after them, to give them help, to give them food, to clothe them. There's those fantastic imageries we know of when the Lord talks about the church like somebody that he rescues, cleans up, clothes, gives them jewelry, makes them, feed them, water them, all that. The Lord is used to that. And in the Bible, we're used to the Lord looking after us. But at Christmas, it is this strange truth that for this moment, God, who is used to looking after us, he was looked after by Mary and Joseph. There was a time where he talks about how he rescues and helps and clothes, but God himself was helped and clothed by Mary and Joseph. They had to look after God. And it is this strange thing as well, if you follow this Jesus, and we've looked at all these promises and titles, how amazing he is. Even in this nativity story, we saw Son of the Most High, or in Matthew, he's going to take away all the sins, or to the shepherds, which we'll look at later. They just say, yeah, God has been born, the Lord has been born. That's this Jesus, right? God is here, but this is what's so strange, and this pressure on Mary and Joseph as parents of God. There's always a weird verse later when Jesus has grown up a little bit and he's a boy, about 12 years old. In chapter 2, they visit the temple, and Jesus, who's too excited to start his ministry, starts lecturing and doing Bible studies in the temple already. He's too excited and he started his ministry early. But the strange thing about that story, Luke chapter 2, verse 51, is Jesus then had to be obedient. It says, after his parents came and got him from the temple, it says, then he was obedient to them, and but his mother treasured all these things in her heart. So Mary and Joseph are learning as they raise this Jesus. But what's so strange is, as we just read, Mary is being obedient to the Lord, but then the Lord's being obedient to her in this weird way. Jesus is having to listen and obey what his parents tell him. And that, of course, it's this weird, mysterious, but wonderful truth of Christmas. And we can't imagine what pressure Mary and Joseph were under. Now, as we look at these other nativity stories, we'll see it wasn't easy. Raising this godchild was not easy for them, and they knew about these hardships. If you look at Mary's song at Luke chapter 1, verses 46 onwards, she thanks God for this Jesus, that Jesus has shown up. She loves the fact that God has arrived. But some of the titles she uses and the Bible quotes she's referencing, you also get to realize Mary knows what's going to happen. She knows what this baby Jesus is going to go through. So she knows she's going to get hurt, and then later the Simeon tells her outright, you know what this Jesus is going to have to do, right? You're going to have to let go of him. He's not just for you, he's for everyone. But just now, we're going to look at that later, but just now we just want to think, how wonderful was it for Mary and Joseph, but how much pressure to raise God, who's so used to raising us, looking after us. They had to protect this God just for a moment. But anyway, it's this wonderful Christmas truth that Mary and Joseph get to experience.